So here we go with getting your clients to say yes. My complete referral system looks a little like this. We'll go through it very, very quickly. You got to have the right mindset. If you've been on other webinars, you know I've talked about having a referral brain. You got to be referable. You got to create client engagements, engage clients who give referrals. You got to create centers of influence, CPAs, attorneys, and all kinds of other folks who can be good centers of influence. Certainly you want to promote referrals. My Don't Keep Me a Secret is probably the most famous one I've been teaching for 20 years. And then, of course, you want to ask for referrals. You want to turn the referral into an introduction, as I mentioned. You want to set the appointment and then turn the prospect into a sale. So now we're talking about, number 8 today in this one. And so you also, of course, need to keep the courtship alive if the timing isn't right, and then maximize client events. So that's the entire system. We'll give you just a little look at the system right now. Let me get these slides changing. All right, I'm just going to go fast here. I just want to let you know that what I'm about to teach you really works. People really do create great results with this. So please don't just listen and do nothing. Please listen and then take action, and that way this mini webinar will be valuable to you. This guy's getting business he wouldn't have gotten otherwise without this process. Thank you, Garrett. Appreciate it. So sales for me is merely a series of permissions, right? That's what sales is for me, the sales process. It's just a series of permissions. We're getting permission to ask questions. We're getting permission to talk about our business. We're getting permission, not begging, in a very high-level adult-to-adult conversation. It's just a series of permissions. That's what allows this to work and to move forward. And so when you break the sales process down into these little series of permissions, it's actually a quite easy thing to get a handle on. And all you have to do is make sure you have this process in place. You can even check it off if you have a checklist on this. So today's agenda, we're going to talk about the power of foreshadowing. It's a very powerful process we can use in all aspects of the sales and service. Having a specific repeatable process to make the sale, to get the client to say yes if it's a win-win situation. We're not trying to manipulate or force anybody to do anything they don't want to do. Using a term I got from Bill Whitley in Charlotte, North Carolina, called here to there, the here to there conversation. I give Bill full credit for this one. Get the impact of the benefits, not just talk about benefits, features, benefits, advantages. That's what most people do. This is really the real benefit, and you're going to find that very helpful. And then explore and diffusing objections. If someone doesn't want to do what we're suggesting, that they don't want to give us the permission to that next step, how do you handle that? How do you deal with that without hitting them over the head, without making them feel uncomfortable, et cetera, et cetera? So that's the agenda. So therefore, selling is merely a series of yeses, right? That's what we're trying to do, a series of yeses along the way. So you'll see our progress up above as we go through the little things I want to share with you in this mini webinar. So the power of foreshadowing, you can see the young Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, who turned out to be his father. This is foreshadowing this in Star Wars. What you may not realize is Darth Vader is actually Dutch for Dark Father. And so all this time when, we're all surprised where he says, Luke, I am your father. We should have known it because it's Dutch for father. So, this is a tool of foreshadowing. They use it in the movies all the time. Well, how do we use foreshadowing in the sales process? Well, promoting referrals, planting seeds. You've heard me talk about that in the past. That's a form of foreshadowing. So here we want to foreshadow the fact that we have a process and that we're going to eventually ask for their business, so to speak, if it's a win-win. In this way, it's very easy to open the new relationship. I don't like to say close a sale or open the new relationship. So you just say something like this. This is one you want to take a picture of or do a screen capture. I have a very specific process that I found works very well for helping us determine if it makes sense for us to consider working together. And then you describe whatever your process may be. So what you're doing in sales lingo is called setting the frame. You're framing the conversation. If they buy into the frame, then you can do what you need to do. So here you're setting the frame that you have a process that you're going to ask them questions to see if it makes sense to continue the conversation or consider working together. At the end, if I think I can be of value to you, I'll let you know. And you can tell me if you'd like to move forward with one or more of my recommendations. Does that sound fair? Some people call this the upfront agreement. I think Sandler Sales System calls it that. So this is foreshadowing what's going to happen, making the frame, getting the buy-in the frame, and then foreshadowing. And if you do this, you will find that your process will go smoother. You'll get more yeses along the way because they know what's coming. It's not a mystery. Don't make your sales process a mystery, right? Make it transparent, and it's much easier to move people through it. And then let them know you're going to make some recommendations if it makes sense, and see what they want to do after that. So you're foreshadowing the fact that you're going to ask them for their business, so to speak. So that's one very powerful tool in getting people to say yes. Another one is to have a specific process. Now there's a lot of different processes out there. I'm not going to teach you a specific one on this call. I'm going to talk to you about the importance of it, and I'll give you some elements of a process. So like I said, you want to be transparent about this. You want to foreshadow it. I think that a good sales process in today's day and age is a mutual investigation. Brainstorming. If you're familiar with my work, you've heard that word before, where we brainstorm for referrals. What brainstorming means to me is collaboration without pressure, and that's what really we're trying to do here. You can say, look, we're just brainstorming here. I've got some ideas, some things I'd like to talk to you about, some questions I need to ask. You're probably going to have some questions for me, so let's brainstorm a little bit. So you don't have to use that word, but that's what the frame we're setting up is this mutual investigation. And then, of course, you need to talk about your value proposition. I did a webinar in, I'm trying to remember, January, I guess, where we talked about the value proposition. I call it the authentic value proposition. And we'll do that again because it was very popular, and I've honed my strategies on this. And in fact, I'm even coming up with a small report on this. So you got to have succinct ways to talk about what you do. And here's an easy one. Let me give you the shortcut to talking about your value proposition. I work with blank who want to blank, right? I work with blank. It could be a group. It could be I work with small business owners and medical professionals. I've been working with the guys. I work with medical professionals and other small business owners who want to blank, retire comfortably, paying as little money to Uncle Sam as possible, right? There could be multiple sentences here. I work with these people who want to do this. I do this by. This is how I do. I do this by. One thing that makes me a little bit different is this. And if you can just answer those questions, you have a nice, quick way of talking about your value proposition. If you missed that, shoot me an email, and I'll send you a little worksheet. You'll love it, right? So Bill Cates at referralcoach.com. Making one or more recommendations. This is where we actually get into the asking for the business. So we got to make sure that we really do very clearly make recommendations. And then we ask to move to the next step. That's critical. What many people do is they stop at 3, right? They say, here's what I recommend. What do you think? And then they're waiting for the person to say, yeah, I want to be a client. I think you need to move forward with a little more confidence. So here's what I recommend. If I were you, this is what I would do. Would you like to move forward? Shall we move forward with this, right? And that's really some elements of an effective sales process. You got to have a process. You can't wing it. If you're trying to make a sale, if you're trying to turn a prospect into a client, you can't wing it, especially when you're working for referrals, because these are value commodities you have here. I love this from Lee Miles. He says, using our VIPS method to ask for referrals, and just last week he used it to add $12,000 in commissions. In just a week, he added $12,000 that he wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So please, we know this stuff works. Now this is a mini lesson. We're going pretty quick. Just a few short ideas you can work on very quickly. So here's the here to there conversation that Bill Whitley showed me, and it's a very powerful way to engage with a new client or a prospect, I should say, but it could be done with a client as well. So what is there here? Where are they now? Ask them questions, or what do you feel good about your financial situation at this time? What are some financial decisions that you've made that you feel good about? What are you concerned about? What are you most concerned about? So you get a little bit of sense of they're here. And then what is there? And you can use Dan Sullivan's from Strategic Coach's R-Factor question, where you say, if we were meeting 3 years from today, what has to happen for you to feel good, confident about your financial situation? You could say, if we were meeting 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, big picture thinking is always important. Find out a sense of what there is, and then, well, here's the words. I forgot I had it on the slide. And then what are the obstacles? What obstacles do you see in getting from here to there? And then that's your job, right? You're the remover of obstacles. It's your job to get them from here to there. And so what you could say to, the next step could be, well, I think I have a pretty good understanding of where you are now. I have a pretty good understanding of where you want to be. I have a sense of your obstacles. I would like to go a little deeper on that because I want to make sure I fully understand your situation. I consider myself kind of the remover of obstacles. It's my job to get you from where you are to where you'd like to be. Can we continue the conversation? Yeah, sure. Series of yeses, series of permissions, right? It's really as simple as that. Robin Wolf, she's been in this business for 24 years. I highlighted the statement, she's having so much fun with this. Robin Wolf, after 24 years in this business of having fun with referrals again. It warms my heart. Here's another great strategy. This is a very powerful strategy, one of the most powerful things I've learned. And it's called, I learned it from actually a guy named John Palumbo. He calls it the benefit of the benefit, and I've kind of tweaked it a little bit, and I call it the impact of the benefit. So we talk about what we do. We talk about we've been in business for this many years, and this is the kind of work we do, and here's our process, right? And then we talk about the benefits of what we do, but we rarely let the client try on the benefit. So think in terms, just a picture of a benefit. Maybe it's a cloak, and the client tries on the benefit. And that's what really creates the impact of your conversation and gets people moving forward. So let me give you a couple examples here. Taking care of your family, right? That's the benefit. This is like a life insurance policy. You'll be taking care of your family, right? You'll be taking care of the people that you love, right? All right, so that's the benefit. And then the trying that benefit on, the impact of the benefit, how does that resonate with you? Or what do you think the impact of that will be on you or your family, right? These types of statements. You'll probably come up with a few of your own. I use the does that resonate with you? Or how does that, I want to make sure it's an open-ended question. So I'll say, how does that resonate with you? Not closed-ended. Does that resonate with you? No. How does that resonate with you? Then you get more information, and you get them to buy into the resonance. Many ways to do this. So that's one example. Another one, not running out of money, right? You help people make sure they don't run out of money. That's a pretty good benefit. That's a benefit with a lot of emotion tied to it, right? So here's what we do to make sure you never run out of money, or to make sure you won't run out of money. How does that resonate with you? Or what do you think the impact would be, right? So there's a lot of benefits that you talk about, and you may not use this with every single benefit that you talk about, but you certainly want to bring it up on a fairly regular basis to get people trying on the impact of the benefits. And then funding your dreams, right? No one should go through life without funded dreams, right? If you fund your dreams, how does that resonate with you? The concept of funding your dreams, how does that, oh man, it's so important to me, I want to make sure I keep my lifestyle the way it is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So that's this strategy of impact of the benefits. So Leslie Shaw in Canada doubled her referrals and production increased using the strategies we're talking about here today. So I want to talk to you about how to explore and diffuse objections. But we can do this for free because we have a sponsor. So give me 2 minutes at the most, and I'll go through this very quickly, and then we'll get into how you diffuse objections. I think it's time to stop dabbling in referrals, right? Most people kind of dabble, and they aren't really committed. Well, here is a full immersion into our process, and we call it the Referral Fitness Training Camp, where we blend a deep dive into my strategies with a little bit of fun, right? With a little bit of fun around fitness, and so you're just going to see from these slides where you're going to get referrals without asking. You're going to learn how to ask without begging. You're going to turn your referrals into introductions. You're going to set more appointments. You're going to convert more prospects. We get into a deep dive in referrals for a day and a half. It's just a day and a half on a Thursday and a Friday near Baltimore. And we've added a couple of new things where we're going to do a meet and greet the day before. We have a group dinner on Thursday. I'm going to hang out with you guys as much as I can to answer your questions. We have some one-on-one coaching either before or after the boot camp if you want to. There's going to be plenty of time to ask me questions, but if you really want to spend an hour or close to an hour devoted one-on-one time, we've added that to the mix as well. And so, early bird tuition ends April 8th. It's $697. It's near Baltimore at the Embassy Suites. And if you bring a buddy, which I recommend because now you got someone to learn with and share with and hold each other accountable, it's $597. And then if you want to pay in installments, that's fine. Just call our office. And then if you're in an office and you like to bring some colleagues, 5 or more, you save another $100. So then it's $497 per person. Pretty small investment when you think of the upside to stop dabbling in referrals, right? What could a day and a half immersion into this, and then you walking away with confidence mean for the rest of your business? And it could be really huge. Achilles Larry, I had lunch with him a couple weeks ago in New York. He doubled his revenue following the boot camp. Right? He's quite an advocate for us. And if for whatever reason you can't make it, gosh darn it, we have a couple of alternatives, referralchampions.com, check that out, and referralcoachacademy.com. By the way, everyone who signs up for the boot camp does get 6-month subscription to Referral Champions. We sell that for $597, and you get that for free as being part of the boot camp. So it's a pretty powerful package. If you have a question about it, just shoot me an email, billcates@referralcoach.com. I love this one only because I translated this guy, Chris Wren. He's from Australia, right? He's done very well. He just within a month or so, he produced $31,000 of increase in revenue using our process. But what I like, he said, is the system is a cracker. So I had to look up, see what that meant in Australian. And translation is it's really good. So let's talk about exploring, diffusing objections. This is probably the hardest thing to teach in the sales and referral process because there really are so many variables that happen. But let me give you a little formula, a little way to think in terms of objections I think you'll find very helpful. First of all, if you get a frequent objection, whether it's to referrals or asking for their business, this works even with spouses and children sometimes. Look, there's nothing, when it comes to teenagers, there's nothing that good, solid reasoning won't aggravate further. But if you get frequent objections, bring it up before they do, right? And you can say, some people I work with, when we first got started, were concerned about this, and you explain it. Some people are afraid to do this because they're afraid to bring in a concern that someone wouldn't think about. But if it's a very prevalent one, good chance they are thinking about it. It's going to come up. Nip it in the bud. Now you control the frame of that conversation rather than them surprising you with the conversation. Other objections that may not be frequent but common, like I want to think about it, or maybe that's frequent, in which case you want to kind of nip it in the bud, become prepared. So one of the things I recommend you do, and I do this live with people all the time in sessions, seminars, boot camp, we come up with the typical objections that we get in different situations, and then we come prepared to explore those objections, to learn more about the objection, because there's always an objection behind the objection. And with every objection, you want to explore it, you want to understand it. 3 great words that will serve you very well in dealing with objections are, you ready? Write these down. Tell me more. Tell me more. Someone says, I don't like to give referrals. Look, that's fine. I know some people don't. Tell me more. And what are they going to do? They're going to tell you more. If you say, shall we move forward? Well, I really like to think about that. And look, I know this is an important conversation. Tell me more. Well, I wanted to what would you think it'd be? So you explore, you try to understand the objection. And then once you've listened to them, then you have earned the right to share your perspective. But what too many people do is the feel, felt, found. I understand how you feel. Many clients or people have felt the same way until they found this. And then you're just running a technique on them before you really have found out what they feel and what's really going on for them. So that's the most important part of an objection, right? Make sure, bring up the ones that you come up all the time so you can frame it the right way from the get-go. Be prepared for the common ones that come up, and then with every objection, explore and fully understand. So that is our mini webinar, and I can take questions now. I'll stay on for a few minutes. Just type them into the question bar. We'd love to see you at the boot camp. We're going to take this and a lot more and go very deep, and you will walk out with a day and a half, a full day on Thursday, half a day on Friday, just total immersion. In fact, we got a question We're in Baltimore. It's the Embassy Suites. It's near, Southwest flies into there, real cheap. It's a hub. We got the train station right by. We're going out for famous Maryland crab cakes or whatever you want to eat on Thursday night. And so it'll be a great session. I'm looking for questions. I don't see any questions coming in. Here we go. So have you adopted the system to marketing letters for prospects? Let me think on this one. Adopted the system to marketing letters to prospects. I'm trying to think of where that would fit in. I'm not sure how it fits in a marketing letter. If you want to shoot me an email, we could have a little discussion about it. I don't see how the benefits of the benefits does. Certainly explaining your process could. I think a letter where you explain, here's our process, here's how we can determine if it makes sense for us to get together, for us to talk, for us to work together, that certainly could fit. Not quite sure, if that would work. But I appreciate the question. Now, that's the beautiful thing of the boot camp, by the way. People ask questions I don't always know the answer to, but there's always someone in the room that's experienced that problem. Here's one thing I've learned in life. If we have a problem, there's a darn good chance that someone else has had that problem and figured out how to fix it. And so we just got to find out how those people are. And in the boot camp, tons of great ideas are flowing from other people, not just from all the experience I've had at this, but a lot of great stuff, so I know you'll find it very valuable. Love to have you there. Any other questions coming up around this sales process, if you will? It's a series of permissions, right? Think of it as a series of permissions, and then think of every step along the way. And I recommend you have even a little checklist to make sure that you don't forget certain things that you want to do. One more thing before I let you all go, since there's no more questions coming in, is practice. Professional athletes practice, professional musicians practice. Most financial professionals, don't practice very much. It amazes me. I practice driving to the airport, practice certain verbiage I want to use. Get yourself a referral buddy, get yourself a sales buddy, whether you come to the boot camp or not. Get yourself someone to go through this stuff with so you always have someone to practice with. We had a boot camp in Vegas, I'll never forget, a few years ago, where two partners from an office came, and they decided they were really committed to this, and so they went home and they started role-playing practice, and they got pretty good at it. And what they do is they do a little drive-by. They drop into each other's office from time to time and say, all right, ask me for referrals. And the other guy say, now? Yeah, now, do it. And so what happened is they practiced so much that it became second nature to them, right? It was no longer anxiety producing. It was no longer fumbling. It's through the practice where you get this. So no more questions that come through. I promise you this will be very short. I hope you find this impactful. Each one of these strategies, foreshadowing, having that specific process, letting people know what the process is, being transparent about it, talking about where their here is and where their there is, and then the obstacles, and being the remover of obstacles, having them try on the benefits, having them wear the benefit that you've just articulated for a few seconds or minutes. Very, very powerful thing to do. And then being prepared for objections rather than blindsided, surprised, intimidated, etc. Hope you found this helpful. Shoot me feedback if you feel like it. Bill Cates, we'll see you at the April referral training camp, asking you, who are you going to be introduced to today? Thanks, everybody.